You don't have any. Everything. Or nothing. Anything you can eat. Now, you know, I used to teach and practice at the Lifestyle Center of America in Oklahoma. And I used to give not just conferences and workshops, but one-on-one. I would work with people about these, emotional eating things. And I know myself, okay, and I know myself well enough that when I go to the refrigerator, I usually go to the refrigerator for something. I have something in mind. I go to the refrigerator, I open the refrigerator, and if I don't see it, you know what I do? I talk to my wife. Honey, have you seen, honey, whatever, right? Because I don't see what I want. I usually go to the refrigerator because I know what I want. That's how I am. Okay. But I have learned of myself when I am having an emotional eating issue. Because I don't know what I'm going to the refrigerator for. And I open the refrigerator, and I'm looking, and I'm doing the double take. Right? I'm looking for the thing that I think is going to satisfy something that I have. Now, I'm not going to suggest that you do the same thing, but from the looks of it, I think you do the same thing too, right? You go hunting. Let's see, what's left in here? What is there? Okay, so I can get a piece of it, right? And so you might try something. You might take something and say, well, let's see if that is it. And then a few minutes later, you go back and you might have more of it, or you go and you say, that didn't do it. I'm looking for something else here, something else, okay? Now, they know this very well on Madison Avenue, so that there were commercials that were prepared just to do that, to show you that when you are looking for something in that refrigerator, here is the thing that will do it. And some years back, there was a very famous, this one won some awards. This guy went and he looked in the refrigerator and there was nothing to find until he finally saw something back there, right? I'm not going to tell you what it was, but it was a product that was, well, maybe I should tell you what it was. Anyway, he made this huge sandwich, okay, that he was going to eat. And he looked and looked and looked and looked, and he couldn't find that thing. And therefore, he forgot the whole thing about the sandwich. No sandwich if there is none of this stuff. Okay? Somebody may remember the commercial, right? That one won awards. Because so many people could identify with this. There's that something in there. But you know, this thing comes from a long history of what can happen with people from the time of childhood. Now listen, you guys have probably been told about milk, right? Anybody talked over the last month about milk and the effects of milk? Okay. You probably may have heard that milk is associated with a lot of allergies as well. Did you know about that? Cow's milk allergy. It starts even from babyhood, right? Babies who receive cow's milk before 2 years of age have an increased risk of developing type 1 diabetes. Did you know that? Babies before 2 years of age. And then babies up to 5 years of age, one of the important causes of anemia, iron deficiency anemia in babies. Now, I'm not a pediatrician, but one of the important causes of iron deficiency anemia in babies is because of the early introduction of cow's milk. Because cow's milk irritates the GI tract. It causes these micro hemorrhages, that's small hemorrhages, and this is a constant leak, if you will, of blood, and therefore the child who may not be receiving enough iron in their diet anyway is losing this blood, losing the iron, and ends up having an anemia. It's an important cause of iron deficiency anemia. So milk, by the way, milk is a perfect food for calves. It works really well. It can take a little calf and in 6 months produce a big cow. But it's not really meant for human beings to go from little calves to big cows. Even though we call them kids, they're not goats, right? So milk, cow's milk, is really not the thing for kids. But additionally, cow's milk introduces children and adults to a whole host of allergies. And some of these allergies are nasal allergies and sinusitis. So if you have a sinus problem, a chronic sinus problem, a lot of nasal allergies and whatnot, you might want to see if by stopping milk and milk products, if this helps to alleviate some of your problems. It is estimated that about 70% of the nasal allergies and sinusitis that occur in the United States is associated in some way with milk and milk product consumption. So now, with that background, I'm going to tell you what happened with this patient. It was told to me, the story was told to me. See, there was this guy who had a lot of sinus problems. He went to his general doctor, general practitioner, and the doctor did what he knew, but persistent problems with nasal allergy and sinusitis. Finally, the doctor said, you know what, I'm going to have to send you to an ENT doctor. Right? That's an ear, nose, and throat doctor, or otorhinolaryngologist. Nice long name, right? So he goes to the doctor, and the doctor looks, says, I need to take some x-rays and whatnot. And you know, doctors in different specialties have kind of like their favorite medications that they use for people who have problems. And so he gave him something, and it abated his symptoms for a little bit, but they came right back. Now, this guy had a wife who is like many wives. She says, look, if we're going to pay this much money to see that doctor, he's going to have to cure you. So she said, we're going to go and talk to the doctor and see what's going on. So they go to the doctor. She insists. They go back to the doctor. You know, the medicine isn't working. And he said, I can see why. So he takes the films and he shows the family, husband and wife. He says, look, you see these little areas here that look a little bit grayish? And, you know, I guess like good families, they say, yes. He said, well, that's where his sinuses are supposed to be. And those areas need to look black. But the reason why they look gray is because it's just filled with all kinds of pus and crud in there, right? And, well, we're going to have to get some of that stuff out. See, it's almost as though your husband has like abscesses inside of his nasal passages. So we're going to have to get that out, and it's a little procedure. Now, yes, it is a little procedure, but it is not a very nice procedure. Because what is done is, you know, there's some parts of the body that's just not meant to be instrumented, okay? And the nasal passages just kind of happen to be, it's very irritating to put anything up there, right? It will cause you to cry if I were to take something and just stick it up in your nose. Yeah, it's irritating, okay? And so what they have to do is to put this little cannula up into there and then into a little hole, right? Get into the sinus and then, right? How's that sound? Now, in no doctor's office will they tell you this, okay? But this is what we're going to have to do. We have to suck that stuff out and then see how things respond. Give you antibiotics, give you some dilators so that, you know, things don't stay congested, and that's what they did. So they did that, and lo and behold, he was doing fine for a few weeks, and then, boom, again, more problems. And the wife said, this is ridiculous. So how I got involved in the story was because this doctor then referred the patient to an allergist. He says, you have an allergic problem, and unless we take care of the allergy, you are just going to constantly have this thing. So he goes to the allergist, whom I know, and the allergist says, hey, we're going to do some skin testing and whatnot, and lo and behold, high on the list of things was cow's milk allergy. And so the allergist passes the information back to the ENT and to the family. And the whole family decides, we are going to go off milk. Save dad. Okay? The whole family wants to save dad, so they're going to go off milk. So, do you think that was easy? No. But they tried. They did everything. They took out all the milk that they knew. And dad did a little bit better for a little while. and then back again. So they go back to the doctor. This isn't working. And the doctor asks a very simple question. Did you stop drinking milk? And the family says, the wife says, yes, we've stopped drinking milk. And he said something like this. Thank you, ma'am, but I'm asking your husband. And the husband said, well, how much milk are we talking about? And the doctor said, well, I tell you what, you have to go off all the milk. All. Because even a little bit can be triggering this thing. That's how allergies work. Just a little bit might trigger the thing. Okay? Now, I'm sure the wife looked at the husband like, all right? Anyway, so they go back, okay, let's do this. So they do it. That he was conscientious, they did what they had to do, but he still didn't get full relief. She says, we're going back to that doctor. He said, whack. They go back to the doctor, and the doctor asks the same question. Did you, and he says, yes, I haven't had any milk for, last 6 weeks, right? And he said, no milk and no dairy products. Yeah, no dairy products, no dairy products. And he says, well, have you been looking at the labels and whatnot? They put milk in bread, and they put bread. We eat a lot of bread. Bread? Yeah. Read the labels. So now they go on a label reading campaign, and they find milk in everything. It's like, oh no, not this, not this. Anyway, so they go through the whole thing. They change the entire way of eating to get rid of the milk and the dairy products. And lo and behold, there are lots of products that don't have milk, but it doesn't say on the label necessarily milk-free and whatnot. So they do all of this, and lo and behold, man, he is doing great. It's like a new man. No more snifflings and snorts and all that stuff that he used to have before. No more congestion. It was doing well. It did well for a few months until, boom, one day, it was like, overnight, it comes back. And she says, I give up. We're going back to this doctor, and this is going to... So they go back to the doctor, and this time, the doctor goes through the same questions. Says, well, my hands are up. Let's take some other films. It takes some films, and then the passages are back to where it was before, and the sinuses and that. Anyway, he says, we have to give you some medications. We'll suppress this, and we'll do this. We'll give you some antibiotics and whatnot. This thing went on for about 3 years, okay, with medications, and the guy was getting better and getting worse and getting better and getting worse. And lo and behold, at the end of it all, the doctor said, I think that there are some things that you are eating that may be causing this. And I don't know what they are. But you have come to my office enough. And the damage that's happening up there is enough that we're gonna have to do something else. We have to go to the next step. And what he said we're going to do is something called a sinus window. Now, I don't want to bore you with all the details, but it's like making a little hole and having that stuff drain out. Okay? And so, they're about to do this when the doctor asks the question once again. Have you stopped using milk and dairy products? The guy said, well, not really. So the astute doctor decided he would ask him a couple of other questions. Tell me. I mean, look at all what your family is going through. Look at all what you're going through. I mean, do you want this surgery? I mean, it's not really necessary if we could stop it in another way. Okay? I will do the surgery. It'll help pay for my boat. But if we can do it another way, let's do something else. And he asked him a very simple question. You know, he probably remembers this from when he was in medical school or something, to kind of dig a little bit deeper. And he asked the question. He said, tell me about your family. I said, oh, wife, 3 kids, you know. No. How'd you grow up? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you grow up? Guy said,